All right. Thank you so much, Sophia. You can start.
Thanks, Pedro. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the class. We are currently busy with Module 4, Session 1, and the topic is the ECD environment. How you're going to be, we're going to be guiding you through this module on how you're going to set it up. So if you want to think of it in simple terms, you would think of it in terms of what the atmosphere is supposed to feel like, what the atmosphere is supposed to look like, the vibe of the place, basically, right? And remember, in the ECD setting, when we are preparing our classrooms, everything in the classroom has meaning. There's a meaning to what you're seeing. Some people wouldn't understand it offhand, but if you have a person specialized in the field, they would be able to point out to you whether a chart is just decoration or whether it has meaning. It must be appropriate also to the age of that class that you are decorating. For example, you cannot have cursive letters in a 2 to 3 age class. It just doesn't make sense, right? They'll see it, they'll walk past it, they'll never ever do it for the entire year. All decorations, all setups in ECD settings have meaning, have purpose, and we try deliberately to make it as colorful as possible because that's what catches the young mind's attention. All right, so we're going to dive right into our second slide, where we're going to be speaking about the outcomes that we are expecting in this session. Number one, you should be able to identify methods to build children's learning and development. Number two, we say you should be able to practice skills in preparing and presenting group activities. And lastly, we say that you acquire educational learning materials using locally available materials or resources. Right. So those are our three outcomes for the session. We hope that we achieve it by the end of the session. Doesn't look like it's going to be a very long session, but you never know. And we dive right into it. So our next slide tells us about the importance, even before setting up the learning area, the importance of a healthy environment. It must be safe and it must be healthy. So we say that a healthy and safe environment is important of children, and this means that children get to enjoy their human rights, the right to water, the right to food, the right to sanitation, the right to play. All right, these environments should have enough space for them to move around freely. And the playing materials have to accommodate all groups. You're going to have, as the groups go higher in age, you're going to be having more advanced playing materials. Indoor spaces should have proper ventilation, hygiene, and should be well maintained. These environments should have planned schedules. So while we are on the topic of safe and healthy environments, I'm very sure all of us will remember not so long ago when the coronavirus took over the world. We then came up with the concept of sanitizing. And this is something that ECDs have been doing long before Corona even hit the world, right? So you're going to have a sanitizing bottle. I like the one that is up in a little pump type of a stand that you can actually pedal with your feet to dispense the liquid that is in there, the sanitizing liquid that is in there, because then everybody doesn't touch the bottle with their hands. They just pedal like you have on an olden days machine, sewing machine. You just push the ones down and the sanitizing liquid or the soap comes out of there. All right, this is something that we still stick to even after Corona, because we know these young little kids like to put their hands in their mouth and then they put their hands all over everything, over the toys, over the stationery, over the books, wherever you see they will be touching it. Right. We go on to our next slide now. And the first thing we're going to be discussing with regard to the environment, the vibe, the atmosphere, is promoting inclusivity in learning environments. And this is basically just us acknowledging that people with different abilities, people with physical defects, people with mental defects need to be accommodated, need to be included in our classrooms. And the manner that we do that is by providing stuff like ramps where the wheelchairs could go up, and enough space in the class so that the wheelchair or the person on the crutches is able to move around freely without having to move furniture and feel like a burden to other people. All right. We say now that children living with disabilities should be treated fairly and equally. Children should be given proper treatment by interacting with them in the same manner that we interact with their peers. Children should encourage understanding and empathy among themselves, and we say that children should be provided with proper nutrition to support growth and development. And lastly, we say they should encourage playing and interactions to improve social skills. So, what this is referring to is many children come into our ECD setting and they have not been exposed to people with disabilities or different abilities. And just like many people are of the opinion that what is unfamiliar to us, we are scared. What we don't know, we fear. Children have that as well. So when you come across a learner that is scared of another learner that has some sort of disability that maybe alarms them or frightens them, scares them, whatever, it is your duty as a teacher to find common grounds with those two learners, or to in what is the word, or to find the differences and to celebrate the differences that these two children have. All right. When we speak to the children of different abilities in a way that makes the whole class stand still and look at him, we're causing embarrassment to this child, right? So we need to try to treat them as normal as possible. If you come across children in your ECD setting that are differently able, disabled, whatever other politically correct term you want to use, you need to familiarize yourself with the way that these children will be engaging, the way that these children will be talking. I know I had an 8-year-old girl in my class who was mute, and she was deaf. So she was deaf and dumb. She couldn't speak, but she used her sign language to communicate with me. And I struggled for quite some time to be able to understand what she's saying until I went to go and educate myself on a little bit of sign language for, all right. So there's different sign languages that they show you for eating, for wanting to go to the toilet, for wanting to sleep, for maybe pointing to an object that they want. You need to familiarize yourself with what it is that the children with disabilities have in your classroom, so that they are able to feel included and understood and not alienated because of their differences. All right, we go on to our next slide now. And we're speaking about the different ages here, right? So the infants are the babies from baby up until 2 years old. That is the spaces we are going to be discussing now. And we're speaking about how it should be laid out, right? So firstly, we say the kitchen should be closer to the eating area to ensure that children wash their hands before and after meals. In some cases, we don't have wash bays or washing hands areas, a special area near the eating area or the dining hall or whatever the case may be, and people make use of the kitchen in the bathroom. Ideally, I think it should be out of the kitchen, because then children could be potentially exposed to boiling oil, steaming hot water, baked things, or whatever the case may be. So ideally, we would then put the taps outside of the kitchen area. All right. And then we say, and as far as infants are concerned, they usually have nap times during the day. When they are feeling sleepy, they should be put in a separate area away from the playing area. All right. And when they are not sleeping, caregivers should use that opportunity to play with them. And the importance of that is play is tantamount to learning or discovery in those early ages. All right. We can go on to the next slide now. After this slide, I'm going to start asking the learners to read with us one at a time. And I'm choosing Xavier to read the next slide after the slide that I'm going to be reading now. Indoor playing for infants. Right, so first of all, we say the area should be spacious and comfortable for children to move around. Indoor playing areas should be clean and easy to maintain, and infants should be provided with lots of toys to stimulate their brains. If you look at the picture that we have on screen now, you will see that the rattle that the baby is trying to reach for has a lot of color in it. All right, that is one of the beauties of the ECD world, is that it is always bright and it is always colorful. But remember, like I said, even the toys that are in the ECD area, if you go to Toys R Us or whichever other brand of shop sells children's toys, you will see that the ECD age toys are always much more brighter and colorful, because that is what attracts the small mind or the young mind. Let me rather say that. All right. So the area must be spacious for the children to be able to move around, because these ones in infancy, they crawl and they're starting to walk and all of this type of things. The area has to be spacious. And we say that it has to be clean. If a little baby is puking or he's spoiling all the time because he's teething or whatever the case may be, we make sure that when the child leaves that area where he was playing, we spray down with the sanitizing gel or the sanitizing liquid, and we wipe down the area so that we ensure that infection doesn't take place, cross infection doesn't take place between the children. I would also like to make mention here that another reason why schools send ECD children home when they are sick, or they request that the parents keep them at home when they are sick, is for this very reason, that they put their hands in their mouth all the time and they put it everywhere else, on toys, on stationery, on chairs, you name it. And other children come into contact with that, also put their hands in their mouth and on the toys and all of that, and your whole class is going to end up being sick. It's a poor reflection on you as a teacher. All right, we go now to our next slide. Infant for indoor play area for toddlers. Xavier, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. How are you doing?
Okay. I'm fine. Thanks, and yourself?
I'm good, thank you. You can go
Okay.
ahead and read the slide.
Okay. Indoor playing area for toddlers. These areas should be spacious move for children move around freely. Toddlers' clothes should be kept in shelves to make it easy for caregivers to access them. Toddlers should be allowed to take part in individual plays and interactions. There should be a balance between indoor and outdoor plays. They should provide toddlers with objects such as puzzles and painting activities.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Tell me, Xavier, are you in the ECD world teaching currently?
Yes, I am.
All right. And when you look at the slide here and you look at your area, your school that you're teaching at, what do you feel you guys are doing correctly, and what do you feel you guys are maybe missing the point on?
Okay. Um, okay, just see here. I think that we need most of the things we're doing correctly, but the toddlers' clothes, I think we still need shelves to put the clothes because they like to take off their jackets, especially like
Yeah.
middays, yeah, during winter. They like to take off the
Okay.
jackets and we don't actually have shelves to put it nicely.
Okay.
Enough
Okay.
shelves
Interesting.
actually. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you need to bring that to the attention of management, maybe. See
Yes.
what they say, what they think about it. All right. Cool.
Yes.
Excellent. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let me have a look at our class. Um, the next person we're going to ask to read is Nyaratso. I'm going to read arranging the space for preschoolers, and then Nyaratso will read the slide after that. Okay, so if you were following, you will see that we started with arranging the indoor space for infants first, and then for toddlers, and then for preschoolers. So remember, we said infants was the group age between 0 to 2 years old, and the toddlers was 3 to 4 years old. And now we are going to speak about arranging this place for the 5 to 6 year old which are the preschoolers, the grade R guys. All right. So they round about in the age of 5 to 6 years. Right. So number one for these guys, we say there needs to be a place suitable for them to exercise their motor skills, whether that is fine motor skills. Yeah, okay, because it is indoor we're still speaking about, right? And then we say, secondly, toddlers understand rules and instructions much better than infants. And we also say that playing spaces should be filled with puzzles, crayons, papers, etc. All right, because they always want to make notes of everything and do drawings of everything, right? Then we say preschoolers begin to use words to express their feelings. Therefore, they should be given books to read. So remember, the books is according to the age appropriateness of that class, because you know that child can't read words. Most of the time, we just have books of pictures and drawing that tells a story. And then we give the child an opportunity to come and sit with you and for the child to tell you what he thinks is happening in that story. Sometimes they are sharp and they will be able to tell you that is the gingerbread man's house. So that is Goldilocks when she was sitting on the chair and when she was eating the porridge and all of those type of things, right? It encourages them to be able to express their feelings. All right. We say lastly, families can be present to listen to their children while they read. They could also do storytelling, etc. It's very nice for children to change up the vibe where you ask one child's mother or two children's father to come to school at a certain on a certain day, and they get to speak about the work that they do. Maybe, or they get to read a story for them. If the work, like if somebody is a rocket scientist, what are they going to come and tell these children on a very simple level? It's difficult for such academics to come down to their level. So you just get them to read a story that is maybe suitable to the profession that they are in. All right. A very, very important part of the preschooler, the 5 to 6 year old age, is that we must have a lot of fine motor skills activity there. Basically, anything that makes them use their fingers a lot. It's very, very important in the indoor space. So that could be, like we say, puzzles, crayons, scissors that they are cutting with. If you want to do paper tearing activities and make a paper mache out of it, anything. When they are in the classroom, as much as possible, because these people need to be able to flex their fingers and grab a pencil by the end of the year when they are leaving, because in grade 1, there's no time for them to be doing that or to be learning how to do a pencil grip, right? Very important. Okay, and then next slide, we say children with special needs should be in an environment that provides wheelchairs or wheelchair ramps. There must be tables that are suitable for them and toilets that are suitable for them. Sometimes it needs to be a little higher than the normal children. And the floor area has to be smooth but non-slippery. All right. Not only for the children with special needs, a slippery floor for normal children also is a safety hazard. It needs to be as tough as possible that they don't go flying off the handles, basically. All right. My throat is not doing so well, guys. I think I'm coming up with a flu. So please just bear with me and pop a message in the chat box if you have a question or if you didn't understand anything that I say. Okay, so I'm going to read the next slide now. Learning area settings. And then after that, we're going to ask iPad to read for us after I'm done with my slide. Okay, now we're doing learning area settings. Arranged ECD spaces should strive to promote child independence, build their skills and interests, help children become creative, help them get along with their peers, and help them understand the emotions and take responsibility for their own emotions. All right. So when we're looking at it, remember, you are trying as much as possible not to have the child depend on you all the time, especially in a normal government situation. We have up to 35 or 40 children at a time in the same class. You want each one of them to be as independent as possible, because you have to see to the children with special needs. You have to see to the ones that are a bit delayed and a bit slow, and you want the majority of them to be able to handle themselves. All right. If you are fortunate to have a teacher, teaching assistant, a person that's in the class with you all the time, then it's okay, it's good. But the aim here is to get the teaching assistant even to teach the children skills that is going to enable them to be as independent as possible. All right. So last week or the week before last week, we spoke about the early learning developmental areas and all the different things that goes with that. And we said that when you are setting up the different corners in your classroom, what you can do in order to avoid children crowding one activity or fighting over chances is you introduce a structure and a system of maybe pegs or maybe cards that you put at the beginning of each learning area or each learning corner. And you cannot go into that corner if you do not have a peg or if you do not have a card to access that corner. So that automatically then allows everybody to move through all the different learning areas without holding up traffic, without abusing one learning area. So you will see usually with the ECD section, they are very drawn to the technology area of things where they are playing with iPads, where they are playing with computers. In the younger classes, they have those little laptops that's all baby singing Baba Black Sheep and all of this type of things. Most of the children are born in a technologically advanced phase of the world, and they are usually drawn to those areas, and they will sit there the entire day if you don't have a rotation system going on. For me personally, I like the peg area, but I have another friend of mine. She uses a tagging system that she puts this. I don't know what you call it. The people that work in the bank have it almost like the access cards hang on it. If anybody knows the word, just pop it in the chat box. And the children find that quite entertaining, and they feel that they are grown up when they have those tags around them. All right. So bear all of that in mind, that there has to be enough learning areas, more so the elder learning areas in your classroom, and everything has to be bright, everything has to be marked and labeled according to the name of that activity or according to the name of that piece of equipment. On the shelf, you're going to be putting down the feather duster has to come here. You put a feather duster picture, because the children in the infant class and in the toddler class is not able to read yet, right? Sometimes even in the preschooler class, the grade up. So you're going to put a picture of the feather duster there. You're going to put the picture of the scoop. You're going to put the picture of the broom. So the child knows that he needs to put the broom back where the broom goes. And in that way, you are able to build independence, and you don't have to basically manage your class. All right. Very, very important. Okay. We go on to our next slide, which is setting play corners and the teacher's role. And we asked iPad to read for us. iPad, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine. My name is Nyasha.
Okay. Okay. Welcome, Nyasha. You can go ahead and read the slide for us.
Oh, thank you. Setting play corners in the teacher's role. Fanta's Play Corner. A space where children act out what happens in their lives. Children form relationships with their peers. They can use their initiative and become creative. They can develop their language and cognitive skills. They can develop their small and large muscles.
Excellent stuff, Nyasha. Tell me, if I were to ask you to choose one statement on the slide there to elaborate a little bit on, which one would you choose?
I could choose they can develop their language and cognitive skills.
Okay, why do you think that one is important?
I think during playtime is to my own experience is I play with kids a lot. I think through what we can do through communication.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah. And
All right.
on group, yeah.
Nice, nice. I like that one. And it is very true what you are saying, Yasha. A lot of times children are having conversations with each other. The children that are a little bit more advanced will be communicating with children that otherwise do not speak the English or the Afrikaans or the Sotho language, whichever language is dominant in that area, and they get exposed to that by engaging with other children. And I actually used to have my children when they were in preschool ages used to come home and they used to speak Zulu. And that was because the majority of the children in their class were Zulu, and they would speak to each other, even though the teacher would be screaming English, English all the time, because it was a predominantly Zulu area that they were in. The children used to speak Zulu with each other. I was amazed. I didn't even understand myself what they were saying. I had to go Google sometimes and then the funny thing was whenever they were gossiping with each other and they didn't want the adults to hear what they were saying, they used to speak in Zulu. Yeah, so
That's funny.
that statement on developing language and cognitive skills is a very true thing. I've learned it. I've learned from it a lot. All right, Nyasha, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Again, I'll be reading the next slide. And after that, we're going to ask Homotso to read for us. All right. Is everybody okay? Do you guys want to pop any questions? Don't forget to use the chat box, or if you want to put up your hand, Pedro will tell me if you've put up your hand, and we will answer anything that is maybe unclear. All right, so we dive straight into it. We're now speaking about the role of caregivers in the fantasy play. So the first clue we gave you, if you had a question, how do I even begin to set up my ECD classroom? We told you that you need to have a fantasy corner, a fantasy play corner. So remember, in the ECD setting, we are basically observing children all the time. But when it comes to the different areas, we may not be sure what it is we are observing and recording. All right. So we're now going, as we're introducing the different corners to you, we're going to enlighten you on what your role as the giver, as the teacher, as the facilitator, and if you're from the Montessori world, if you're the directress, we're telling you what your role is when that children are in the play corner, the fantasy play corner. So number one, we tell you that you not basically intervene and correct children, but you do show interest in what they are doing, right? So we say you intervene occasionally, just to ensure that they don't wander off alone or they don't get bored and they start breaking the things. So for me, I like to always ask children questions when I see they are starting to drift away. Remember, they have very little concentration spans, or very small concentration spans. And we basically say that it goes according to their age. So if we are dealing with preschoolers in the 5 to 6 year old range, we wouldn't let them sit in a corner for more than 5 minutes. Then they get bored and then they want to try something else. All right. Secondly, we say that your role is to observe what their needs are as they are playing. Maybe they are not good at a certain skill and they tend to shy away from that corner, or they tend to shy away from that specific activity. You can then see that this child will be lacking in that area because that is a gross motor skill area. And you will try to encourage the child to continue going back and trying to perfect that skill that they are avoiding, right? And then lastly, we say they should allow children to play their games without trying to take over, right? It doesn't matter how bad they are doing at the activity. We always encourage them. We always say, well done for your effort. You don't have to lie and say, You draw like Picasso, my baby. Oh, wow, this is amazing. If it's rubbish, it's rubbish, right? But what we do is we zone in on the effort that the child has put into it, not the outcome, not the picture that you see in front of you, right? So if that child took his time and he was showing that he was concentrating and he was doing, you praise the child's efforts. And you will see that as you go along, you will start perfecting that, because he will keep on being addicted basically to the praises that you are giving him, right? You giving those praises indirectly to his effort and not to his work itself allows him to keep on going back and perfecting that skill that he was lacking on, if that makes any sense. All right, but that is basically it. We go now to another corner, which is the art corner. And we ask Homoto to put on your mic and please read for us Art Corner.
Good evening.
Good evening, my dear. How are you?
Good in yourself.
I'm fine, thank you. You can carry on, read for us.
Okay. The art corner. This is the corner where children tap into their creativity by using their own ideas and are able to express themselves in their own unique ways. Art helps children develop cognitively. They learn to control small muscles in their hands and fingers. It also helps them develop their eye coordination. It can also boost their self-confidence.
Okay. Tell me, Homoto, are you in an ECD setting?
Not yet, ma'am.
Not yet. Okay, that's fine. But if you were in the ECD setting and you had to choose between these two corners that we did now, the fantasy play and the art corner, which corner would you like?
Ooh, I would like the play corner.
Okay. All right. That didn't go how I pictured it to go. Okay, but anyway, it's fine. Let me ask you another question.
Okay.
What do you think they mean when they say in the second last sentence that it also helps them develop their eye coordination?
I think here they mean in art.
Yeah.
Remember, if a kid is using, let's say, for instance, paints, is doing painting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
On painting, the child will be using the hand, the finger, even the eyes. So you'll be able to see what the child is doing with the hands and the eyes, because eventually if she or he draws or make a painting, the eye contact with the painting, it has a communication
Yes.
with it. Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. That's very excellent for somebody that's not in an ECD setting. Well done. Yes, that's
Thank you.
excellent. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, I think that was excellent what she said now. Remember, your eye coordination is always going to be in tune, basically, with your hands. So in the classroom, we cannot be making them hit tennis rackets or baseballs or any of those type of things. So they're going to exercise their hand and eye coordination by means of drawing or painting or pasting or coloring, anything where they are using their fingers. Like we said in the introduction, it is an indirect preparation for them to progress into writing, into holding a pencil and a pen and a crayon properly in order to achieve the desired results. All right, we go to our next slide now, which is the role of the caregiver or the teacher, the directors, the facilitator, and that is their role in the art corner. All right, so I'm going to read that. And after I read that, we're going to go and ask Tombi to read for us, setting the building corner. All right, but first, let's do the role of the caregiver in the art play. So we say firstly, they should assist children to become more creative. They should encourage children to choose what they want to do. They shouldn't draw things for the children themselves. And they should ask for assistance when they are using hazardous objects like scissors, especially for the first time. And they should praise them for their hard work, like we said just now. All right. You don't have to lie. You don't praise the child maybe for the masterpiece that he drew for you, but you do acknowledge the effort that he put into it and how he concentrated. And in so doing, you obviously encourage him to do that activity more and more until he basically masters it or he perfects it. All right, so that's our role in the art area. It's very tempting for adults to go into any corner in an ECD setting and basically do the activity for them, thinking that they're doing the child a favor, but you're actually depriving the child from that learning experience, from repeating the activity and basically mastering it at the end of the day, if you're always going to be doing the activity for him. That's the whole deal of these different areas, that the children need to master them by continuously practicing. All right, we go into our next slide. Tombi, can you read for us, please?
Evening, Apa Safia.
How are you, my darling?
I'm okay, and yourself?
I'm fine, thank you. You can go
Alright.
ahead.
It says setting the building corner. This is a corner that's where children grow and learn in all developmental areas. It allows children to make buildings using objects, helps them practice their large muscle skills, helps enhance their mathematical skills and problem-solving skills. They develop social skills as they get to work with their peers.
Okay, excellent. Tombi, tell me, if you must choose one sentence here to speak about, which sentence will you choose?
The one says helps enhance their mathematical skills and problem-solving skills.
Okay, so tell me about that. What do they mean by that?
I think it says about if you help them to choose the mathematical skills, it's help them to solve their problems, whatever problem that they have. It solve their problems and the skills that they have. Yes.
Okay, okay. So what we also must understand about the building blocks corner, or whatever you want to call it, some ECD specialties, they call it the construction corner, is that children are basically putting blocks on top of each other. Some of these blocks are your normal standard Lego blocks. Everybody knows Legos. And some of them in the Montessori setting, we have wooden blocks. Some of them are hollow and some of them are solid. Okay, so when we're saying that you are helping a child develop their mathematical skills, these blocks are color coded. So you will see that the Lego block that is number 1 would usually be in a certain color, and the one where there's 2 and the one that there's 3 and so on and so forth, they come in different colors. And children actually, by playing with these things and trying to match them and to build things up, they start understanding the concepts of numbers, understanding the concepts of space, and so on and so forth. All right. Thank you very much for reading, Tombi. We're going to go into our next slide now, which is the role of the caregivers in these building corners or in the construction corners. And then I think we're going to start on the top again. 1 second, please. Yeah, we're going to start on the top again with Nyashu. Sorry, man, iPad. And she's going to read the Science and Discovery corner, right? But first, we're going to finish what is our role in these building or construction corners, all right? We encourage both genders to work together. And we also talk to children throughout the whole building process. which I'm not actually a fan of because I find it very irritating when I'm in the building corner and people talking to me. And also we say you can monitor children and see if they need help, monitor children with special needs and ensure that they are on the same level with other children. All right. So basically what we're just saying is, besides just observing the children in all the different corners, you try to elicit a sense of discovery in them by asking them probing questions that's going to lead them into trying something new with the blocks today. So when they were in the corner the first time, they just basically stacked everything on top of each other. But now we speak to them about the different colors and what number is this, how many holes does this one have, and where do you think this one fits, what does this look like it could be, and whatever. And you're actually building language skills at the same time also. All right. So it's very important for you to be present and walk along through all the corners all the time. In the ECD world, we don't believe that teachers must even have a desk or a table, because you're supposed to be on your feet all the time, observing, probing with open-ended questions, so that you get the child's interest piqued, so that he performs even better, that he masters whatever he's busy with. All right, we go now to our next slide, and that is the science and discovery corner. You can see that little boy there with the magnifying glass is looking at the rock over there, maybe trying to check if it has diamonds in it or not. But yeah, the discovery corner, where I come from, we call this the nature corner. And we basically bring stuff in nature, like pine cones, like bugs and insects, different things that you can find, leaves, planting. We have seeds in that corner, and children plant in the in the classroom. There's a little bucket there with fertilizer. So when the child decides he wants to do that activity, it gets demonstrated to him how it is done. We play a little video and we ask him if he wants to go along and do it as well. And when he's done, we staple a little tag on there to say that this is his plant, and he knows that every day he has to go take that miniature little scoop and he has to water his plant. All right. So the science and discovery corner is something that everybody's always excited about. And as soon as they've done planting this seed, they want it to be sprouted the next day, which is usually impossible. So we encourage them to carry on or to take another one home as well and compare the two plants to each other. All right. What the discovery corner, iPad, are you there?
I'm here.
Sorry. Tell me again, what's your name? I won't
Nyasha,
forget this now.
Nyasha.
Nyasha. Okay, Nyasha.
Yes,
All right. Sorry about that. You can go ahead and
it's
read.
okay. Science and discovery corner. This corner is all about experimenting, predicting, observing, and measuring results. Helps children practice their processing skills. They gain self-confidence, enhances their problem-solving skills. They get familiar with mathematical concepts, helps them with their language skills.
Okay, Nyasha, you know the drill, né? Choose one sentence there and give me 3 points on it.
Okay, let's see. Okay, I'll choose the point number 1. This corner is all about experimenting. Since let's say, for example, I'm observing these children I'm taking care of. Science and discovery corner, this as they, sorry. As I'm observing them, I see this point. It's talking about the curiosity of children. Let's say they see a bug or anything, they really want to know what it is. And some, they even try to pick it up to see what it is, unless you tell them. So I think by science and discovery, it's like when you tell them, they just, that's when they know what it is. And I don't know what I'm talking about. Am I right?
Excellent. No, it's right. I hear you. I hear you. I think that's a beautiful word you use there. When you said it piques their interest. They're very curious about it, you know. Their curiosity gets satisfied a lot in the Science and Discovery Corner. Excellent stuff. Thanks,
Yeah.
Nyasha.
Oh, thank you.
Right? Okay. Okay, we go on to our next slide where we speak again about the role of the caregiver in the Science and Discovery section. And we're basically saying that you should be monitoring the children while they're playing. And we say also that you continuously talk to children while they are playing and introduce new concepts, right? So, you know, children can tend to be very mischievous when you leave them alone, or when they see you are distracted, you're sitting on your phone the whole day, and you basically don't care what they're doing, right? So in order for you to have a harmonious class, a class that is constantly creating, constantly learning, constantly curious, constantly trying out things, constantly experimenting with different things, you need to be on the ball all the time. You need to be asking them questions. Oh, I see you decided to plant a millie tree today. What color do you think is in the millies that you get on the side of the road that the Gogo sells? And he will tell you, there's stuff outside, and those stuff is green, and then there's little white hairs that come there, and then there's stuff inside that is yellow. Okay, do you know what's the name of that yellow stuff? No, I don't know, teacher. Okay, so we call them corn kernels. Oh, is it, teacher? Yes, it is. All right. When you're done with this thing here, I want you to come to my desk. I've got a beautiful picture of corn on the cob with the kernels and the husks of the green husk that you were speaking of, and I'd like you to color that for me if you're okay with it. Oh, yes, definitely, teacher. All right. So you try to continuously have different materials, but the same theme going on in your classroom so that you can accomplish a whole set of knowledge with the children. All right. If that makes any sense. But yeah, anyway, our time is almost up. We're going to go on to our next slide. I'm going to read that for you. And here we're speaking about book corners. Book corners enhances vocabulary. They build language and communication skills. Children are able to use creativity and imagination. And the more they read, the more they gain new insight and ideas. Again, remember, these books have to be age appropriate. In the infant class, in the class, the books that we have, they actually has textile features to it. So if they say or things popping out in 3D, right? If they say that, or they have a picture there of Goldilocks sitting on the chair, they actually put Goldilocks little hair strands on her where her hair is supposed to be, because the children are curious. They will feel this, right? We also say that it piques their creativity and their imagination, because now they're going to relate a story to you when they were also scared out of their mind because there was a dog chasing them, and they can relate to Goldilocks being scared of the bears and jumping through the window, or whatever the case may be, right? But a lot of language building goes on here in these book corners, and it is of utmost importance that we understand our role as caregivers in the book corners, right? Which is our next slide we're going to go on to. And number one, we say we allow children to choose their own books. Pedro, you have the wrong slide on. Can you go to slide number 20, please? Next one. Role of caregivers in the book corners. There we go. Right? So we say here, you allow children to choose their own books. You don't force them to take books. You encourage children to respect books. All of us, we know that when we were in school, we had a very strict teacher who would teach us now how not to make donkey ears in our books. And you have to wet your index finger with your tongue to turn the page. I don't encourage that anymore because of germs. But yeah, you find ways to make sure that children turn the pages of the books respectfully, that they do not write in books. They have to absolutely, without fail, you have to get the message across that books are holy, and books are to be respected. All right. So they can't be throwing away books. They can't be scribbling in books. They can't be tearing out books, especially the books in the reading corner. All right. Have books in large print for children who are visually impaired. And then we speak about helping children with educational toys. Help them explain what they are doing. Let them find their own ideas. Praise them when they're trying something new. And make them aware about dangers. And that basically sums up the role of the caregivers in the book corners. We go now on to a small discussion about group times. Remember all the corners that we explored now had to do with children learning at their own free time, in their own free pace. But our next slide, which is group times, is going to be speaking about how we handle, how we manage the children in a setting of maybe all 35 of them. All right. So firstly, we say these activities that encourage children to come together and participate in activities with the supervision of children. So group tasks can happen inside the class, it can happen outside the class, but basically the whole class or different clusters of groups in the class is doing the same activity at the same time, right? And the reason why we do this, we say, is because children feel a sense of belonging. They learn to follow instruction. They can help and develop children's social skills. Group time enhances language skills, and they improve concentration skills. These activities that we do in group times, they include celebrating birthdays, morning prayers, storytelling, and so on and so forth. In our normal government setting here, we usually do all of this in our morning ring. All right, some of you will be familiar with that term. We also take that opportunity to discuss the weather, to discuss whose birthdays it was for that day, to discuss what day of the week and which month of the year we are busy on now. We sing a lot of rhymes in that song as well. And remember, just as your supervisor or your manager would do with you in a corporate environment, as building a team building, I think they call it, where people learn each other's characters and they try not to judge each other too much and relate to each other on a friendly, cordial level. The same thing happens with children in their group time. All right, we go now to our next slide, which is the importance of music and movement. We say here that music and movement plays a huge role in growth and development. Children use this to understand and express their emotions. They can use music to increase their vocabulary because they'll come across words in there, and they will come to you and they will ask you, what does that mean? You know, they can learn about their cultures and the cultures of other people through music and movement. And we say lastly that music and movement time refers to stuff like dancing, singing, listening to song, making up rhymes, rapping, beatboxing. I don't know if that is still in fashion, but yeah, basically all of those type of things. And then we come to our next slide, which speaks about the importance of storytelling. We say that it encourages children to learn about cultures of their own and of other cultures. Again, it improves their vocabulary, and through having this improved vocabulary, they are able to express their feelings, which is then also developing their language skills. All right, so you will see in the ECD setting, one thing always intertwines and is always complementing another concept that you are trying to achieve. And this is beautifully carried over in our field, in the ECD world, through working through a theme. All right, we go now onto our next slide, which is the importance of field trips. And here in South Africa, we basically call this excursion. This is when nobody is sick and nobody is absent when it comes to excursion time. All right, Pedro, can you go to the next slide, please? So the importance of field trips, we say, or excursions as we speak here in Mzansi, we say that they get to learn about nature and their surroundings, because usually we will take them to educational places like say Bono or like the farm or the zoo a museum of the transport, little fairy land where all the landmarks are in South Africa. And we say that they're basically learning about their surroundings. It improves their social skills because now they're learning what the lady that takes the money at the till point is called the cashier. Some of us go to the mall even on excursion because even that, you know, the exchange of money and trading and just basically doing the experience of shopping. And I know that we found it utterly disastrous when we decided to take the whole crew of ours, which was about 40 children. So from there, I learned the importance of the mall. We needed to only take small groups at a time, about 10 children max, was 2 caregivers, because Checkers has these little small trolleys that they can also push as well, and they want to put things in there. We also learned that it's better to speak to the management of the store ahead of time to make that arrangements, and they actually are very courteous and accommodating, you know. So yeah, field trips and the importance thereof. We said social skills, thinking skills, again, language skills, and how to take instructions. All right. What is our role now? We're saying what is our role as the caregivers in the excursion? That we're saying that we should consider each child, ensure safety measures are in place, like first aid kits. When we go on excursion, guys, I can tell you. Petro, next slide, please. We basically look like we are packing for a road trip or some sort of a holiday, because we have first aid kits, we have toilet roll in there, we have water bottles for everybody, we must have sunscreen, we must have sun hats, we must have the snacks for them, we must have umbrellas or a gazebo. All of these different things goes into organizing the field trips or the excursions, and they are very, very important. All right. Also remember that we must get permission from the parents to leave the school grounds with their children. There's a little indemnity form that is always attached to at the bottom of the information of the children going to an excursion. All right, very, very important. And you're going to prepare the children beforehand. You're not just going to rock up at the zoo and you're going to tell the children, this is a zebra, this is a lion. You maybe in the 2 weeks building up to that, you were speaking about these different animals, and now they are experiencing the animals live and in color in front of them. All right. Our next slide tells us important places that we can visit. The theme parks like Gold Reef City, if you are from Gauteng, the zoo, the police station, and church halls, and like I said, different types of museum. Saibono is also a good one. And my personal favorite, Ethereum, which has been closed for renovation now. I don't know, it's probably 2 years, very sad. But yeah, hopefully by the time it comes back, it's much more awesome than it ever was. All right. And then we say, after the excursion field trips, we offer children a little snack while they settle down from the activity. They have to draw pictures of the experience, usually the next day in class. This is something that I hated personally. I promise, as a child, I like, what must I say? We were all there. We saw the same thing. We're all going to say the same thing. Why must I say it if everybody else is going to say it? All right. But it's important for them to do this so that they are able to put into words and able to express themselves and articulate themselves in what they experience were. And you will find that even though children all saw the same thing, their concept of what they saw was vastly different one from the other. All right. And you can also do the storytelling corner the next day or the next morning, or even there on the grass, you know, while everybody's eating, take turns to come and say which was your favorite animal, or can you remember what color was the cheetah or the zebras, or I don't know, the cock-a-doodle-doo, or whatever it is, right? But you need to engage the children and speak about what they learned there. And thus also they take back home, and the parents are of the understanding that you didn't steal the money for your own personal gain, and the children actually did go to the zoo or to the planetarium or wherever it is. All right. And with that, we come to the end of our module 4, session 1. Are there any questions? Nothing in the chat box. We are 4 minutes over time. Pedro?
Alrighty, thank you so much, Sophia, for the lovely class. I think we will continue. This is quite a big topic, so we will continue off from this slide in the next class. I see nobody has questions either, so I think we can call it. Thank you so much for having such a nice class.
You're
Sorry,
welcome.
Nyaratso?
Hello.
Hi, yes. Do you have something to ask us?
No.
Oh, okay. I was just checking because I see you unmuted yourself.
No, I think
I just
today
want
you forgot about me. You called my name and I was ready, and then you called somebody else. I was like, no.
Oh,
okay, so
Yes.
next class I'll make you read first. Don't worry, I'll give you 3 pages even.
All right.
I
sorry
just
about
want to
that.
say
Mm,
I just want to say thank you to this class. Everybody interacts very well. And I'm familiar with the names now. Of everybody coming up. Even iPad is Nyasha. So yeah, thank you guys for being awesome and interacting during the sessions, especially on days like today when my throat is dry. Thank you everybody and
all right.
good night. God bless. Goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you. Bye.